We're active in about 15 campuses, and we're growing very, very quickly. And keep in mind, this is not just a flash in the pan movement. We're going to become an institution to give them the power and the confidence to stand up and let their voice be heard. I started this organization when I was 18 years old. I decided not to go to college. I didn't get in my dream school, which was the United States Military Academy at West Point. I have this idea to galvanize and motivate the future youth of this country around a core set of ideas, not just political parties or politicians. And the ideas are really America's the greatest country in the history of the world. The Constitution is the greatest political document ever written, and free enterprise is the most assured way to lift people out of poverty and create prosperity for all. Those are the three big ideas. And I think that's something that can win.
Charlie James Kirk, to his admirers, he was a bold truth teller, a man who made conservatism cool for a new generation. To his critics, he was a dangerous provocateur, accused of spreading misinformation and stoking division. Born in 1993, Kirk rose from suburban Illinois to become one of the most recognizable faces of the American right, an activist, a media personality, and a close ally of President Donald J. Trump. Through Turning Point USA, an organization he built, he got through to the youth movement. Through his podcasts and TikTok, he reached millions every day. His message was one of free markets, limited government, Christian values, and a fierce opposition to what he called the woke left. But Charlie Kirk's journey was also marked by controversies, backlash, and ultimately a tragic death in a public program, a program that was aired live, and he became one of history's few personalities who was shot while millions watched. At just 31 years old, his life was cut short in an act of violence that shocked America and reverberated throughout the world. His killer, a young man, one of the people that he sought to convince to join him in the crusade that he said was to take back America.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. Charlie Kirk grew up in Prospect Heights, Illinois, in a comfortable suburban home. His father, Robert, was an architect who helped build Trump Tower in Chicago. His mother worked as a mental health counselor. At Wheeling High School, Charlie showed an early interest in politics and debate. He volunteered for Republican Senator Mark Kirk's campaign, conservative thinkers like Milton Friedman. Kirk dreamed of attending West Point, but his application was rejected. He enrolled briefly at Harper College, a community college, but dropped out after 1 semester. He would later joke in debates that he had no degree, just common sense. In 2012, at the age of 18, he met a Tea Party activist, Bill, at a conservative event. That meeting proved decisive. Together, they began to imagine a movement that will mobilize America's youth against liberalism. Later that year, Charlie and Bill launched Turning Point USA from his parents' garage. With a seeding funding from conservative donor Foster Fries, they set out to challenge what they describe as left-wing indoctrination on American campuses. Turning Point USA gained national attention through campaigns like the Professor Watch List, naming academics accused of liberal bias, and the Prove Me Wrong tour, while Kirk debated students in open forums. By 2020, Turning Point USA boasted more than 850 campus chapters nationwide and reported revenues of nearly $40 million. Kirk's own salary soared, funding luxury homes in Florida and Arizona. But more than money, sought influence. He launched Turning Point Action to directly influence elections and acquired students for Trump ahead of the 2020 election. He founded Turning Point Faith to mobilize churches and partnered with Liberty University on Falcon Center for Faith and Liberty. From a suburban garage to national juggernaut, Turning Point USA became one of the most powerful grassroots organizations in America, and Charlie Kirk is undisputed commander. Kirk understood that in modern politics, media is power. In 2020, he launched the Charlie Kirk Show. Within 4 years, it drew between 500,000 and 750,000 daily downloads. His commentary blended fiery monologues with interviews of high-profile MAGA, the group supporting Donald Trump, called Make America Great Again. In 2024, Kirk turned to TikTok. His short clips, combining humor, outrage, and confrontation, racked up to as many as 50 million views each. He became one of the most watched political figures on the platform. By early 2025, he expanded again, this time to television. Charlie Kirk Today premiered on the Trinity Broadcasting Network, TBN, giving him a mainstream Christian audience. Alongside the media, Kirk built a publishing career. His books, Time for a Turning Point, The MAGA Doctrine, The College Scam, and Right-Wing Revolution, became bestsellers. A posthumous title, Stop in the Name of God, was scheduled for release after his death.
Give me your perspective on DEI, and because based on what I heard earlier, I feel like you don't think I belong here.
Oh,
because
really?
Of
Why?
how I am a black man, and because of DEI, I'm not qualified enough
Are you?
to be here. Yes, I am.
Okay, great, then you belong.
But why do I have to prove that to you?
You don't. You brought it up, I didn't.
Okay, but can you explain to me your position on DEI?
Yes, people should not be in positions just because of the color of their skin. Hard stop.
Okay, but do you feel like I'm here because
I'm not feeling anything towards you, actually. I'm not prejudicing you. I'm not stereotyping you. I'm saying it's a material.
I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are.
No, you are. You said I don't feel comfortable being here. You started with.
I didn't say I wasn't comfortable being here. I said I feel like you made it to where I got here through DEI.
So let's examine that. What have I said that makes you feel that way?
When you mentioned how DEI is only just putting people of color and marginalized groups in spaces, even if they're not so and so
correct.
Qualified.
That's exactly what DEI does.
But that's not all that it does. You're categorizing it as something it isn't.
No, that's exactly that is like that is the charter missions.
That's not all.
Okay,
that it
so
does.
diversity, equity. So equity is outcome based. Is about making people who are of different skin colors have the same outcome, regardless whether or not they are qualified. The best example we have of this is the Students for Fair Admission Harvard Supreme Court case, where black students, they could have a SAT score 300 points lesser than the Asian equivalent and still get into Harvard. That is DEI in practice. I believe when you're hiring for an organization or for a company or for whatever you are doing, you should prioritize merit and character, and race should mean nothing. We should build around things that matter and not things that don't matter.
Charlie Kirk was not just an activist, he was a brand, a relentless content machine shaping the worldview of millions of young conservatives. Charlie Kirk's political creed fuels Christian nationalism, cultural conservatism, and populist economics. He opposed abortion in all forms. He rejected gun control, insisting the Second Amendment was absolute. He promoted traditional gender roles and railed against LGBTQ+ diversity initiatives and transgender healthcare. He was opposed to government funding the transition of kids from one gender to another. Kirk increasingly argued that America's destiny was tied to Christianity. He dismissed the separation of church and state as a liberal myth and embraced the Seven Mountain Mandate, the belief that Christians should dominate culture, education, and politics rather than walk from the sidelines of society. Economically, he preached free markets and small government, but infused his message with Trump's populism, targeting elites, bureaucrats, and what he called the woke establishment. He dismissed climate change as pseudo-paganism, spread doubts about COVID vaccines, and relentlessly promoted the claim that the 2020 election was stolen. For his supporters, Kirk was a fearless defender of faith, family, and freedom. For his critics, he was a dangerous demagogue who blurred the line between religion and politics, truth and conspiracy. Either way, Kirk's message resonated with a generation and made him impossible to ignore.
It's all right if you have an opinion. I'm saying it's not all right if you don't understand how the female reproductive system works.
Let's pop quiz. When does heartbeats begin for babies in utero?
Have you ever eaten an egg before? That's yes or no. Have you ever eaten an egg before?
Scrambled, yeah.
Okay, so would that be you scrambled a full chicken?
Well, hold on. You understand that it takes an egg to be fertilized?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Your point,
So,
the whole point you're making is
hold
that
on. So,
a
but no,
baby...
since we're doing pop quiz on like human development, so when exactly do heart waves begin in utero?
You know that, but you don't know the four.
Hold on, no, so tell me when heartbeat.
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
No.
So wait, hold on. So you're trying to say I know more about the woman reproductive system than you do?
I am a woman, so yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, but the point being is we could both go back and forth of like independent trivial facts when it comes to the woman's reproductive system. But here's something we all know, because God wrote this on the human heart of every individual, as it says in the book of Romans. We know deep down it's wrong to murder a baby.
You're not murdering a baby. It's not a baby.
Okay, well, let's play this out. What is it then?
It is an embryo, which is not a baby.
Well, okay, so it's a fertilized embryo.
Correct, which is not a baby.
So at what point does it become a baby?
When it is born.
Oh.
I don't agree with abortions up to full-term abortions.
Well, hold on, but you said it becomes a baby when it's born.
Yes.
Then why would you have abortion limits before it's born? I thought it's just an embryo. So embryo rights?
No, the embryo rights aren't a thing.
But then where would you draw a line for abortion then, and why, and under what moral standard?
There are medical reasons not to have an abortion
No, that's
full
not the
term.
question. That's not the question.
You just asked me why would I not have an abortion full term for medical reasons.
Okay, so at 29 weeks, the baby is nearly fully developed, can recognize the mother's voice, has a heartbeat, has brain waves. Is it okay to abort that baby?
It's not okay, but you're going to say it's okay to have an abortion then. I don't understand what you're trying to say. It's not okay to have an abortion ever? How
Correct.
about 3
Yes.
weeks in?
Correct.
No abortion. Correct.
Charlie Kirk's rise was inseparable from controversy. He was accused of spreading disinformation about the COVID-19 pandemic, George Floyd's death, and climate change. Social media platforms suspended him temporarily. His alleged connection to the January 6th Capitol Hill attack drew national scrutiny. He had helped fund buses to Washington, it was alleged, and later refused to answer questions from the Congress pleading the Fifth Amendment. Universities sometimes canceled his appearances, citing safety concerns. When he did speak, protests and confrontations were common. Away from the spotlight, Charlie Kirk lived a life centered on family and faith. He married Erica, a former Miss Arizona, an entrepreneur and Christian podcaster. Together, they welcomed 2 children, a daughter in 2022 and a son in 2024. They shared glimpses of family life on social media, but kept their children's identities private. Kirk's first journey was striking. Once secular, he became a passionate evangelical Christian, influenced by pastors like Robert Jeffress. He embraced Christianism, observed the Sabbath, and wove faith tightly into his politics. Erica often described their marriage as a shared mission, advancing both family and faith in the public sphere. After his death, she vowed to continue his work.
The world needs Turning Point USA. It needs a group that will point young people away from the path of misery and sin. It needs something that will lead people away from hell in this world and in the next. It needs young people pointed in the direction of truth and beauty. And so I promise you today, every part of our work will become greater. I am tremendously honored to be the new CEO of Turning Point USA. I do not take that lightly. Charlie and I were united in purpose. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission. Everything that Turning Point USA built through Charlie's vision and hard work, we will make 10 times greater through the power of his memory. Chapters will grow, thousands of new ones will be created. TPUSA Faith will add thousands of new pastors and congregations. And yes, campus events will continue. And we will continue to hold debates and dialogue. I love you, Charlie, baby. And I will make you proud. God bless you all, and God bless America.
On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was scheduled to speak at Otter Valley University. The event, part of his America Comeback Tour, focused ironically on the subject of gun violence. During the debate, a gunman opened fire. Kirk was fatally shot. His reported last words were, "Counting or not counting gun violence," were tragically symbolic of the topic he had been addressing. He was only 31 years old. The suspect was arrested within days, but the impact was immediate. President Donald J. Trump called Kirk legendary and awarded him a posthumous medal for freedom. Vigils were held across the country. Flags flew at half-mast. Netanya was named in his honor. Leaders around the world offered condolences. In the United Kingdom, a few days after, there was a rally that his supporters, led by Robinson, claimed 1 million people attended, while the mainstream media said only 150,000 people were in attendance. Yet, as in life, reactions were divided. Admirers held him as a martyr for free speech and conservative values. Critics wondered his rhetoric had helped poison public discourse. His organization, Turning Point USA, vowed to continue mobilizing young conservatives. His books and podcasts surged to the top of the charts. From a suburban garage to the stage of national politics, an international discourse and debates, and international recognition. From a dropout to a presidential medal of freedom, Kirk embodied both the promise and the peril of modern political activism. His career reshaped the American right, young conservatives, amplifying populism and making Christian nationalism a force in the Republican Party, a factor that keeps flipping American politics even after his death. But his controversies, his rhetoric, and the violent end to his life revealed the deep fractures in America's political culture. To his admirers, he was a fearless leader who spoke the truths others were afraid of. To his critics, he symbolized what they feared most, the fact that the young people in America will no longer follow the left and the liberals in Americans' politics. Charlie Kirk's story remains unfinished, not in what he would do, but how his legacy will be remembered, and the number of people that have vowed to continue his work. Shortly after his death, several chapters of the Turning Point USA had been formed in several universities. Years down the line, what will history say of this young man who died at such an early stage? One of the first deaths that was aired live on live television around the whole
most important thing. Most important thing is my faith.